Hello everybody, it is me, GamePenguin21, and today I need some low-hanging fruit, and I need an easy video to make because motivation isn't doing well right now. Yeah. Now, other than boring you with some personal life stuff, which you obviously don't care about, today I think we'll take it easy. Pick a low-hanging fruit, as it were. I'd found this video a couple weeks ago and decided that I would hold off on it until, well, I had something like this planned. I might also start to do some gameplay stuff, so there might be a third upload this week, or uploading next week on Thursday. I'm not sure if I'm going to do anything right now, but again, this one's being recorded a bit ago. So, as you may know, the last week was a kind of Harman output special, and I also did a bunch of Icon era stuff as well. So, in kind of capping off of this to just kind of do like a weird turnaround, I'm going to actually have another Harman video for you, which is this video right here. So, interesting how I started off Harman, then did Icon era and Harman, then did Icon era, then I'm back to Harman. So, full circle, as it were, for the end of this month. I was going to plan on doing a nib video for it, but it didn't come out as good as I liked it to because, well, it went over the time frame that I normally like to be comfortable uploading a video about, so I might have to rework it to being it down a bit. But we get to that when we get to that. Overall, right here, right now, we're going to be talking about how apparently the PC Master Race will fall before Nintendo, at least according to the Nintendo fanboy Harman Smith. If you don't know who this is, well, go check out the last video that I did on Harman Smith, which was last week. So, there's that. With all that being said, let's get started.
For the longest time, I've kind of been thinking that it's time to retire. It's time to hang up my Mario hat. It's actually hanging up over here. It's time to stop talking about PlayStation and Xbox because these are irrelevant, dying brands. I was talking about this even a decade ago, just how Sony's deals with like Bankai would implode, how the Bungie acquisition was a disaster, Gamergate, all the signs were there that like the entire house of cards that the gaming community had built up over the past 20 years were collapsing. And that was apparent even then. And now it's even getting worse with like some of the worst video game franchises ever made. Stuff like Assassin's Creed, stuff like that. That is going under. Ubisoft.
I like how originally he's just very much so trying to say, oh yeah, this whole house of cards is being thing, and we've seen this before and all this thing, but also Bankai, first of all, is probably the weirdest thing that you're going to hear today. Bankai. Do you mean Bandai Namco? As in the people who made a bunch of stuff? I don't remember specifically, but Bankai, I've never heard the pronunciations of that. I also like how he says, oh yeah, there's a bunch of franchises that are actually ending up failing. It doesn't just list off one, which is Assassin's Creed, which has been made by Ubisoft. And that's on a downward hill, not because of it being like related to anything having to do with Nintendo, just because that, well, Ubisoft is in a number of controversies right now. And I wouldn't say that all games like that are actually having problems. As an example, I believe last week, at the time of the video that is here going up, the finals just had like a new season and stuff and new content. So that's probably going to be in this video because, I love the finals, as well as several other different things. And there's a lot of games out there that are still actually succeeding rather well. But, Harman will never talk about that.
The worst video game developer on the planet, publisher on the planet, is going under, and that can't make me happier. It's the beginning of the end for all these corporations. It's only a matter of time until the same thing happens to Rockstar, to Activision, to all these other studios that have spent like the past 30 years just milking their customers dry. It really needs to implode, and it should have happened a long time ago, but the signs are definitely there. I'm seeing normies complain about the platforms. People are pushing back against their practices, and like they're not really seen as being cool anymore. And the narrative right now is that like, oh man, PC is going to take over. PC is going to swoop in and just steal all this market share and become the dominant force in gaming. And I've come to understand, owning a gaming PC myself and like seeing just how little I play it, to the point where like a game that I really, really want to finish on it, Tales of Arise, I'll just wait for the Switch 2 version. Like that's honestly my genuine opinion on this. I'll just play Tales of Asperia on Switch. I'll play Tales of Graces. I'll play Tales of Symphonia. I'm not gonna play Tales of Arise. This game I really, really like on my gaming PC. And it took me a while to kind of figure out why.
Okay. So I know that was a lot of information to take in there, but the basic point that he's saying is like, oh yeah, PC is going to swoop in and take the entirety of the market share. At least that's what he's saying. But I don't know if anyone outside of Harman Smith is actually talking about it. I know, well, that's not true, actually. A lot of people are talking about how the PC gaming market is actually growing a lot steadily in the recent years, and it actually has been. If you look at the numbers over the course of the time that, Steam has been around, Steam has recently hit, within the past, month or two, around 40 million concurrent players, with their standard monthly active users seeming to go up because of things such as Monster Hunter Wilds. So, But overall, that's just on PC, and that's just even only on Steam. And again, saying that the entirety of the PC market is only available around Steam is kind of strange, but also not entirely false. So yeah, again, but breaking 40 million concurrent players in a day for one platform is kind of a big deal, because 40 million concurrent players that were players logged in on Steam at the time, which again is whatever. But the more monthly active users and things like that, it's very strange. But okay, sure, maybe we can say that the consoles themselves aren't doing the greatest, and they're kind of not, because they haven't really offered anything interesting or important into the gaming space in a while, at least for me and at least for a ton of other people. But that's just our own opinion. Looking at the actual numbers and looking at the quote normies complaining about games not being as good, yeah, that has to do with other problems within the industry itself. But the industry itself, I kind of agree that needs to collapse, at least the AAA gaming space, for one reason or another. But I find it interesting how, again, the way that he thinks is oh yeah, Nintendo's not having any of these problems, despite the fact that Nintendo is having their own problems for one reason or another. Also, I don't think that he has a gaming PC.
Why am I not into gaming PC as a platform? And it's unintuitive. All of these games are just the exact same thing as you can get on console, just on a more expensive piece of hardware that may not work as effectively. Right? The issue is PC is simply too expensive for video games. You can get a PC at half the price of a typical gaming PC, right? That does everything else you want to do except play games, and then just buy a Nintendo Switch and then play everything on that, right? The reality is Nintendo consoles specifically, the real competition, are going to coexist with lower budget mid-range PCs that are not being used to play games. I think that's the reality behind the
Okay. I mean, that's actually kind of fair if you think about it. Well, yes, I am a PC guy. The fact that what Harman just said actually isn't necessarily wrong. Saying that Nintendo consoles could coexist alongside of lower end gaming PCs or lower end PCs that are not meant for gaming is correct. And very much so. I would actually like it more to the fact that, coexisting gaming PCs versus work PCs has always been a distinction within the actual PC industry. Now, do I think that people can't set up those those PCs for say anything that has to do with actual gaming? I mean, if you want to play lower end games, absolutely, you can play those lower end games on a PC. And again, I don't think that Harman is wrong for saying this. I do think that it's just a weird thing that's oh yeah, and it's specifically Nintendo for that. But, not everyone wants a PC to play video games. Not everyone likes a PC that plays video games. Sometimes you want a PC to just do something else for some smaller games and stuff like that. Now, again, I don't think that this will make PCs fail, and PCs will bend the knee in order to, coexist alongside it, but that's not failing before Nintendo. That's just, them coexisting in an ecosystem. Again, I don't understand how he can look at this and see oh yeah, this is the downfall of the PC master race. This is bad. But I don't know. Maybe I should redo this. Whatever. I'm already this deep into the video.
the PC success story is that everybody uses PCs in their daily lives. They're everywhere. They're just basic computers, right? Personal computers. They exist. They have their purpose. But that purpose is not to play games, right? People are going to gravitate more to a streamlined platform that's more affordable, that has exclusive software, that can innovate when it comes to technology. They are going to gravitate towards Nintendo consoles. And this has kind of been my stance on this for a long time, is that I felt like PC gaming, mobile, and Nintendo consoles would just coexist in these in this ecosystem that would just overlap with each other. But like the more I think about it, like
So wait, hold on. How? First of all, Nintendo innovating in this context implies that now they're the only people who will continue to dominate certain mobile markets and stuff like that. Whereas, again, if you were to compare some of the other mobile markets that were out there, technically speaking, mobile itself is still one of the largest gaming platforms, if you will, because everyone has a phone and everyone has games on their phone, apparently. But to say that yeah, PCs are not made for gaming, no, there are PCs out there that can be made for gaming and that are made specifically for gaming, but that's not all that they can do. PC gaming doesn't necessarily mean that the games or the PCs themselves are tailor-made to gaming. They're tailor-made to be as powerful as possible to run some of the more modern graphical interfaces or both graphics and video games as best as possible. Not all of them are, successful in doing so, and in some regards there is bad porting PCs and bad stuff can happen, and there's a lot of moving parts to PCs, but it's nothing that can't be fixed or can't be remedied with like one or two little things that you can tweak and whatever. Again, that goes down to the nitty-gritty of things and to stuff like IT, which I am actually certified in, but overall, I mean, I don't think that he's necessarily wrong. And I think that we can expand it out more to consoles themselves, as eventually what I think would happen, or what I think will happen, is that PC, consoles, and mobiles will all get to a point where each of them has an overlap with the other, and not just again Nintendo consoles, just like all consoles in general. They'll have an overlap of an audience enough so that they can be profitable, but that overlap slowly becomes more and more like intertwined, I guess, hopefully. But there still is distinction between them, with again PC being pretty massive, but that's just me.
the narrative specifically is that like PC gaming will dominate Nintendo consoles, and that simply isn't happening. That simply isn't possible. If you really look at like what Nintendo is doing right now, when they're branching out into merchandising, when they're branching out into making films, when they're doing stuff successfully on mobile, like you get this sense of just like what Nintendo's strategy actually is, and it far surpasses anything that like
Brand recognition? Because all of that stuff that he just said is just specifically for brand recognition. The movies, the TV shows, the merchandising, yeah, all of that stuff is done by brand recognition because, they publish and make games. Not every company, not every person can actually do that. A lot of the big companies do actually do that and do actually make money off of these games. But if Nintendo's the only one doing this, why exactly was there a Five Nights at Freddy's movie? A game that seems to be exclusive to mostly PC and also a bit of mobile, and they had a couple of mobile spin-off games as well for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, which has a bunch of different games. There's also Poppy Playtime, which does have seemingly some merchandising deals, even though they did make a couple of missteps, making things such as NFTs, as well as a couple other stupid things that they've done. But they had an entire ARG leading up to like their next chapter, which I think they're on their chapter 4 or 5 right now, or they're working on chapter 5. There's also Garten of Banban, which also does have merchandising as well, and I'm not sure if there's going to be a Garten of Banban like movie, but I mean, there's a ton of fan animations and a ton of people making like content around it. So overall, if Nintendo like having these successes means that they're going to outlast PC, there are several different devs and several different people that are actually doing the same thing. Again, The Finals has recently also done some merchandising and has also done a big push for it. They might not be making any movies anytime soon, but that's a free-to-play game where you can literally buy merchandise from them. Nintendo's not the only one that's making these successes or making these strides. And again, this is not having anything to do with the benefits of the game. It's just for brand recognition. It's really all it is.
Valve is capable of. Valve is completely reliant. Like, Valve can't even get a piece of hardware on retail shelves. Okay, Valve cannot sell people Steam Decks. Okay, and you really think that they're going to compete with Nintendo? Oh, that's another thing. By the way they like do this really odd like kind of shuffle to like avoid basic reality. They do this weird thing where they say PC gaming, but they really mean Steam, which is like a specific platform that is clearly like on the decline in a lot of ways, that clearly has a lot of issues behind the scenes that people conveniently don't talk about. You know, how it's
Yes, PC gaming, aka Steam in this context, is, quote, on the decline despite the fact that they've broken records in the past, like, month. Again, they hit 40 million concurrent players in the time that we've been talking. When Monster Hunter Wilds came out, 40 million concurrent players. That is a gross from 39 million at the end of last year, which I think was their record high of concurrent players. 1 million players in the course of like a month, or maybe not a month, the course of like 3 months of people wanting to be on PC and specifically on Steam. Now, when we're talking about PC gaming, at least for the most part, we're talking about all of PC gaming. I know that I know that he says like, oh, well, they're specifically talking about Steam. Yes, if I'm specifying Steam, I'm usually using Steam numbers because those are the numbers that are most readily available to it. I always say that Steam is a part of the PC gaming market, but it's not the full market. It's just the numbers that we have the most access to because someone actually goes in and like doesn't scalp, but like scrapes the PC numbers and puts them up onto SteamDB, which is usually, I think, run by the community of Steam because they can scrape those numbers off. And Valve is very much so, like, as being as transparent as they possibly can, offering up numbers and surveys to basically evaluate the health of their community, which, again, they do happen. And not every platform results in these numbers. Things like GOG, things like Epic Game Store, and several other factors. Those are smaller platforms, but they aren't insignificant when you talk about fully PC gaming. It's just how it is. We're just using Steam numbers because those are the numbers that people have the most access to and the ones that are the most, like, determining health-wise of a specific game on the specific platform. But I always say, and I think most PC gamers always say, these numbers aren't the definitive end-all, be-all of the health of the game. It just is a very good insight into what's happening into the gaming industry, at least on the PC in terms of Steam numbers specifically.
all entirely gonna fall apart when Gabe dies, right? Like, we all know this at this point. We've done this for a long time, but like the weirdest.
That is one of the problems. That is like one of the things that I'm a little bit concerned about, at least in terms of that. Because if Gabe goes down, that is a little bit of a concerning thing. But hopefully the company will continue on. But it is one of the things that I'm a little bit scared about.
Weirdness of it all is that the PC gamers will do this thing where they're just like, ho 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 ho, if Steam goes down, we'll just go to another storefront. And I'm just like, what storefront is there that has a tenth of the relevancy of Steam? You know, are you gonna go to GOG? Are you gonna go to the fucking Epic Game Store? Are you gonna play like?
That is true. Again, what storefront is there that has a tenth of the relevancy? Not many of them. And again, yeah, if Steam goes down, that's gonna be a very big loss in terms of, just how the PC gaming market is gonna run. But it's not gonna be impossible for another one to come in there. But he does have an interesting point there, and not incorrect, but just like, if nothing else, I think that GOG would then probably take over, though unsure.
Microsoft Windows. Like, are you gonna buy games from the Microsoft Store? Like, there's a reason why Steam is like more relevant than all of those, is because all of them are clunky. All of them are like have all these like really terrible user interface issues. A lot of them are like pulling all sorts of weird stunts, like the whole Epic Game Store exclusivity thing. Like, what exactly? When you have all of these competitors on the same platform, like none of them are going to be able to dominate and like kind of lead the way onto like what PC gaming should be. You know, once Steam falls apart, the issues with PC gaming are going to become more prevalent.
I mean, that's what Steam has been doing and has been doing for a number of years at this point. That's the whole point that Steam is the most popular out of all of the ones that you just listed. Is because they're the ones that are leading the way. They're the ones that are now actually starting to regulate themselves because they've gotten to a point where, like, if these companies want to put their games onto that platform, they will use that influence to try to benefit the consumer, as well as, of course, themselves to the best of their ability. Now, again, this comes down to things such as, like, AI generation and trying to keep ahead of the curve because, again, if you really think about it, the actual regulation in government-wise isn't as big of a handle on PC, or at least not on PC, but like in gaming in general, and from what I can tell.
Because none of these platforms are dominant, they won't be able to invest in the platform and continue to improve it any further, right? Epic is not able to support the Epic Game Store because it's so successful and that they're selling tons of games on there.
Their entire ecosystem is shit. They're not investing the money that they have already back into the actual store itself. The reason why they are failing is because they tried to pull the stunt of exclusives, which doesn't work and has been proven to not work, at least on the PC side. They might offer a better revenue split, but that's only because the Fortnite money is there, because the Epic Game Store has only become really the Fortnite launcher. They have a worse experience and stuff, and if they even did like a tenth or like even a bit of what Valve has done, making things a lot more transparent, making the UI and doing the improvements that Valve has done, don't you think that they would have just been, maybe as popular? But again, I digress.
Supporting it the way they are because of Fortnite. And they're trying to get this store to take off. They're trying to make it relevant. They're trying to make it competitive because they know that Valve's position as like the PC market leader, the storefront, it is tenuous. It will fall apart the instant that like Gabe's cult of personality collapses. Whether it's because he dies or because of something else. Like Tim Sweeney knows that Valve's time as like the premier storefront is limited. But like there just aren't enough PC gamers.
I mean, I guess in some ways maybe, but the thing is that Steam at this point has become such a prevalent brand as well. And overall, I think even if Gabe dies, he has surrounded himself with enough people who understand, like, so long as you listen to the consumer and so long as you listen to the people to make the improvements that they want, you can have success, just so long as you don't be stupid. That's the thing. Just don't be stupid, don't be dumb, and just let the store and the people do it, and you do your own job. I don't think. Again, I said a little bit earlier that, like, if Gabe dies, it's going to be one of those things that the Steam store is going to collapse and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that's not really the case here. And saying that, PC gaming is going to fall because of that, Gabe will probably name a successor to him, someone who is very close to him, at least in terms of that. And I do think that eventually he will probably die in office, and then that will like lead on to another thing. But again, I'm not too certain on this. It's one of those things where you make a good point, but that point is seemingly lost in a number of different things. And I think that we can just kind of end it there because there's like 2 minutes left of this video, and I don't really care to go on any longer with this. Overall, his main point, he does have some good points in here, saying that, like, oh yeah, the Nintendo will exist alongside of PC and mobile, which he has quote-unquote touted for years. Like, no, he hasn't touted that. This is one of the first times that I've even heard about this. But I do think that PC gaming existing alongside, like, other forms of gaming in terms of, like, console, mobile, PC and stuff, like, they have their market share. They have their stuff, and that's one of the big reasons why things like the Steam Deck and stuff has been becoming the thing. I didn't mention this before, but saying that they are not able to get it into retailers and not able to sell this thing, they've sold about like 3 million of this. So they're obviously able to sell it, and it's obviously able to be pretty profitable, despite the fact of Gabe saying the price is a little bit strange, but, that's just, again, from his words. But I think that'll about do it for this episode of I Rant Into This Microphone Until It Smells Like Mountain Dew and Doritos. If you like what it is that I do and want to support me in any other way, shape, or form other than like and subscribe, which is always enough, links down to everything in the description below. My new music is coming out next month, so be on the lookout for that. Take Me Higher will be available on my Bandcamp, as well as a video, like a music video will be available there. It's just a speed paint of the actual thing. In any case, my name is GameParent21, and peace off.
Hey man!